Well, hello and welcome to Qlik Spotlight. And today I have the very great pleasure of introducing you to Paul O'Brien. Now, Paul is the Vice President of Global System Integrators. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, John. It's great to be here.
And great to have you here as well. Yeah, and also, yeah, because it's 4 months now, isn't it? You've been at Qlik. And how's it been so far then?
Really, really good. I've had a long career in high tech and software companies, and what's exceptional about this place is the people.
Mm.
I do not say that haphazardly, but it's really been great. The people have been extremely welcoming and very, very open to the type of suggestions and the work that we've been doing.
That's excellent. So tell me, you mentioned about your career in tech. Just tell me a little bit more detail on your career journey before you came to Qlik.
Yeah, sure. Classically trained as an engineer, and
Mm.
I figured after doing that for a year, I realized I didn't want to be an engineer. So I was lucky enough to join IBM in the heyday, and
Ah.
classically trained as a salesperson. You know, the
Mm.
classic IBM salesperson calling on large accounts. And but very soon after that, I was introduced to a role where I could do major accounts, and that led
Mm.
to a scenario where I was introduced to running a VAR, a classic VAR channel organization.
So
And
for
from
so for
that,
anyone who doesn't know what the VAR means, value-added reseller, isn't it?
yeah,
Am I right in that?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Good, good.
It's a great catch because a lot of people confuse OEM, VAR, and it's interesting, even at Qlik, some of those terms get thrown around and
Yes,
they should
yes,
be
you're right.
explained. So
Mm.
that's a great catch. But having done that, I've really got into, I was hired by a company called I2 Technologies, which was really the precursor, the best application for a supply chain.
Oh, okay.
And it was a wonderful, this was in the dot-com era, and it
Mm.
was a wonderful journey. And that's, I got introduced there to really focus in on global systems integrators to build that up. They had some relationships, but that's really how I got introduced to that. So my career has taken a path where I've always had a similar role running a channel slash alliance
Yeah.
type of organization, but with a focus and uh, you know an importance focused on the GSIs.
Mm.
As I tell people, what's very important about this, it's depending upon the technology that a company is selling, the GSIs can be important or not. But in most cases, especially like at Qlik, and so I've worked for 5 software
Yeah.
companies and always have had that type of a role and have been lucky enough to be very successful. So just coming prior to here, I was at Hortonworks, and as you know, Hortonworks has been combined
Yeah.
with Cloudera, and so I had to manage the GSIs there too. So
Mm.
it's just a continuation of what I've had been doing really over the past 25 to 30
Mm.
years. Um,
Okay.
the other thing that's nice about that is throughout that journey, I've been able to make many, many friends and
Yeah.
colleagues within the GSI community.
That's quite important as well, isn't it? And you also, when you mentioned the dot-com time, that was quite a ride, wasn't it, when that was happening? When you're riding that wave, it was. I suppose the bubble being burst was inevitable, but it was good before that happened.
Yeah, it was. Sorry for the analogy, but it was like the 737 Max 8s at one
Yeah.
point became that we didn't know which way we were going, and
Yeah.
it burst. I was lucky enough to get out prior to that, so it was all good for me. But it was a great journey.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, okay. You've been here 4 months. You've got a team beneath you. That's the way to describe it. A team working with you. There you go. That sounds much better. So what's the makeup of your team? Who are those people?
Yeah, great question, and I would actually say that too. They've got like myself, a long history of working with the GSIs and a great set of networks. As I mentioned in at Sales Kickoff,
Hmm.
myself and my team are kind of like the Kevin Bacon of the SI world, where we're probably 6 degrees of separation from the person that wants to get connected on a particular account. But the team is made up of we've got 3 focused accounts. We call them the big 3, which is
Hmm.
Accenture, managed by Sandy Matthews. Deloitte, managed by Tim Duffy, and then Cognizant, managed by a new employee, Ranoj Ravindran, who's out
Right.
of India. And Ranoj managed Cognizant for Informatica for like 10 years, and he knows
Ah.
everybody at Cognizant, so he's a great addition. Now,
Mm.
beyond that, I've got Eric Fengen, who's in Europe, who helps them from a pan-European perspective on those big three. And then we've also got two other members who focus what I would call the next level, or the people, at least at this stage in our journey, we've identified as the next level down. That would be Stefan Greyer, who is
Yep.
covering Capgemini, NTT Data, and CGI. And then Greg Rucki, here in the United States in the Boston office with me, he's covering Slalom, SDG, and
Mm.
TCS, or Tata Consulting, as it might
Tata,
be
yeah.
referred to.
Mm. So, I mean, I'm always in danger of when you're talking about something where uh, you presume everyone else knows about it. So when you and I say global system integrator, we just presume everyone knows. But a lot of people who watch these videos may be just wanting to get to know this particular industry and place of work. So I think it's quite important that we explain to those people exactly what a GSI is.
Yeah, great question. And by the way, uh, people get it confused sometimes, and there is, it goes back and forth whether somebody is a regional systems integrator or a boutique
Yeah.
firm. Uh, it's a two-man shop, or if it's a large firm. The way I like to describe the global systems integrators, and they're the classic names of the ones I've just mentioned.
Yes. Yes.
Whereas like a Slalom really is not a GSI, but they've done enough revenue with us that we're kind of focused on them for now. But
Mm.
classically, a global systems integrator by its nature is global. It's got
Mm.
a global footprint with that type of reach across all continents and geographies. And as such, they typically are aligned in the same way. They're focused not only within a region, but more importantly,
Mm.
they're organized by industry or sector, so that
Oh, I see. So they'd
you'll
have a particular industry they would deal with then.
absolutely. Whereas a regional SI, they may
Mm.
have a Boston office that covers everything. So what they've got on a global systems integrator classically is defined as a large organization that focuses on specific industries,
Yeah.
manufacturing, retail, etc. And then the other important thing, especially for our business, is what we call the service line. So these are
Mm.
uh, very detailed business executives as well as technical people who go across the verticals and have an expertise. So the typical scenario is there's an SAP service line, so that when
Yep.
a person from Accenture sells SAP into Bank of America, he'll bring in the SAP service line people to help
Mm.
strategize and also deploy and then implement that. The same thing for our business. We typically are dealing with the analytics or predictive analytics type of service line.
Yep.
And of course, now with the addition of Attunity and Catalyst, we're into the data management service
Mm.
line, which is a whole new approach for us. So that's the
Yeah.
basic definition. The way that the organization is organized
Yeah.
is the way that we cover them.
And on the other side of that, a systems integrator you can imagine as a someone who carries a toolbox of systems that can be used. So someone like Accenture would go into ABC company, they would want a problem solved, and Accenture would give them the tools or the software to solve that problem. And typically they're agnostic as well, aren't they?
Unfortunately,
Yes.
which leads to one of our missions is we can't be everything to everybody. There's only six of
Mm.
us, where we really need the direct salespeople to help on a specific account to
Yeah.
influence. But part of our main mission is to make sure that when we're calling on Accenture at the vertical or at the service line level, and we're going to get more than our fair share of business working with those folks.
Mm. Okay, yeah, and I know, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it Accenture that actually use Qlik themselves, don't they, to
Yeah, no,
to
that's
to
another
quote?
great comment.
Mm.
So what's wonderful about Qlik, if you look across the board, even for the ones that classically are not being, at least my team isn't dealing with now.
Mm.
They're more being deal with the direct sales organization like PwC,
Yep, yep.
and Accenture, where they've got direct sales folks too. They've got 50, 100,000 users within those organizations,
Mm.
which is a great story for us because they typically sell what they know, but these are
Yeah,
internal
yeah.
users and we can leverage them for success stories.
It's funny, some of those names you mentioned there, like Accenture, most people would have heard of those, PwC, etc. And one that for me caught me by surprise, and I had no idea they were that big actually, is Tata, because that's an Indian corporation, isn't it? And I remember the main thing that's branded on my brain is Tata Cars. I never thought of
Oh yeah.
consultancy. Yeah, but
No,
it's a
that's
huge organization, isn't
in the old days. I'm dating myself a little bit, but we used to
it?
call it, the switch providers. And of course, there's been some consolidation. Switch was an
Mm.
acronym for the first word, Satyam, Wipro, etc.
All right.
There's so these people are classic, what we would call the Indian providers, Cognizant being one.
Mm.
But we've got a situation now where there's so much work being done in India. Let me give you one example.
Mm.
Cognizant, for example, 70% of Cognizant's revenue is done in the United States, but 72% of their employees are in India.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
because that's where all the delivery is typically being
Yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah. That's incredible. That really is. So why is this the whole GSI thing? Why is it important to Qlik?
Well, as I like to say, the GSIs really are the keys to the kingdom for almost any type of software company, because as you know, they are at the C level or C minus one level of
Hmm.
almost every major corp, at least the Fortune 2000
Yeah, yeah,
organizations across the globe. Every Thursday night, the Accenture partner uh, uh, is having dinner with the executives at Caterpillar,
hmm.
and they are having discussions about strategy. And those people, Accenture, Deloitte, etc., are being called in at the strategy level, which they
Yeah,
hope leads into a tactical implementation level. So they are sitting there at the C-suite. And what's important for us is they create huge leverage for us as far
yeah.
as getting to the C-suite, but also reach across the global entities. They can be so many other places where we could be, where
Hmm.
even on the leverage side, a sales rep may take 2 years to get to the executives that they want to get to. Whereas if you have a good relationship with a local Accenture person who happens to be covering that account, they can get you there in a matter of weeks.
Yeah. So it's
So
the influence network they have then, and that their ability to get in at the C-suite that's very important to us.
yeah, and once again, they're typically seen, they want to be seen by their clients as agnostic. But as I
Hmm.
said before, what we're trying to do in the background is influence them to get more than our fair share
Yeah.
because not only of our technology, but we're a really good company to work with.
Okay. Okay. So we are going for an evolution, and you, of course, would have seen this in your short time at Qlik. We're evolution over to a subscription-based company. Now, are we in a way getting a helping hand from the system integrators, or how are they helping us on that journey? Are they getting us to accounts more with subscription? How is that panning
Yeah,
out?
it's more. So once again, we can't influence how
Mm.
Accenture or Deloitte are actually going to be delivering their solutions. We hope to be embedded. There's, two scenarios where they're doing work on the ground with a
Yeah.
client and they're using our technology in concert with that. But then in many regards, one of the other things we do is to get ourselves embedded into the solutions and the offerings that they're
Mm.
offering to clients. Now, 5 years ago or so, Infosys came out with a great study that became very logical. Is that you cannot grow a business, a consulting business, just by adding people. Your
Yeah. Yeah.
profitability it's a linear curve. Whereas
Mm.
if you move to what everyone is moving to now is a managed service, and of course it's much like a public utility where you
Yeah.
can provide analytics or predictive analytics services as a managed service to a company, and you're paying by the drink or by the month,
Yeah.
etc. And that's how most clients want to consume stuff now. And so that's what is happening with all of these partners. They have their own managed service offerings, which we hope to be part of.
Mm, yeah, it's fascinating. It really is. And this journey that we're going on is going to be very important to for us as a company. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
good to see some
absolutely.
help there. Yeah. So in your short time at Qlik, you will obviously be aware of the our ongoing acquisition opportunity. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, and what do you know of that, if at all, what of that industry and where opportunity work?
Yeah, no, I've also been lucky enough. I ran the channels and the alliances for a company called Essential Software,
Yeah.
which was the number one competitor to Informatica in the data management or the
Ah, okay, okay.
ETL
Yeah.
data quality space. We were
Mm.
purchased by IBM, and so I'm very keen to that. I've also, by the way, one of the gentlemen I worked with in this sales role is at Attunity, and we've talked
Ah,
about the acquisition, and it's
yeah.
going to be it's going to be great to get the band back together. But to answer your question, what's great for us is that I might have
Mm,
mentioned this earlier that we're typically dealing with the analytics, the big data, the predictive analytics type of
mm.
service line. Now with Attunity and of course with Catalyst, we have the ability to talk a very
Yeah.
great differentiation story to the data management service line. So, it gives us the ability to expand who we're talking to and then drive even more um, type of ClickSense product, etc.
Yep.
What's also nice about it is the the SIs, the GSIs are really interested in this type of service to clients
Oh,
because
really? Okay.
it's really sticky. It gets
Mm.
them in there, um, and so it's a great help to us where we can become more sticky with the
Yeah.
GSIs, and of course also pull more of our visualization technology with it.
Excellent. So it's all good then. I'm looking forward to well, they said a provisional about round about May before connections. So let's hope it all goes well and
Yeah.
comes off well. So that's good. And there's going to be some people in the Boston office, aren't there? So from Attunity, which is good.
Yeah,
Okay, so
absolutely.
we've got a bit more of an understanding of you and your work, your career journey, your thoughts and stuff. So now we're going to get a bit of an understanding of the other side of Paul O'Brien. So is it O'Brien or O'Brien? I apologize if I say it wrong.
Oh my God, no, that's definitely O'Brien. And by the
Okay,
way,
good.
it's a lot of people, uh, unfortunately, spell it with an A instead of an E.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, as the son of the famous Irish king, of course it's O'Brien.
Fantastic. Glad to get that one right. Okay.
Right.
So how do you relax, Paul?
Yeah, so it's just me and my wife now. I've got two daughters who are
Mm.
grown and off into their own journeys, and uh, we've got great exercise routines in the sense that my biggest relaxation is biking.
Ah,
I
nice.
There's a annual event here in Massachusetts called the Pan Mass Challenge,
Yeah.
which is a torture event of 2 days, roughly 100 miles each day. But it's a
Oof.
great charity event, raises a ton of money for the
Mm.
Dana-Farber Cancer Institution. And of course, it's not just that one day, which is the first weekend in August. It requires that you train the entire year
Yeah, yeah,
because nothing more painful than getting on a bike and thinking that you're going to be doing 50 miles without some form of training. But there's not,
yeah.
and I live in an area of the Boston suburbs where there's a lot of hills and rivers and forests, etc. So there's nothing like a Sunday morning getting out there and being on the
Yeah.
bike by yourself. It's quite enjoyable.
It's a good way to keep fit. I did well, quite a few years ago now. We used to get a team together for a Swedish ride called the Vattenrunden,
Yep.
which is 300 kilometers, 186 miles in a day.
Oh.
And I did that. Never again. Absolutely never again. Everyone says, "Oh, fantastic!" That was hard work. Yeah, you have to put the miles
No,
in.
and
Um,
I say that every year, the second week in August. I say never again.
yes, and
But
then you do it. Yeah.
you always have to have a goal, or you'll sit around and
Mm.
do nothing. But that's
I,
it's
I,
relaxa
yeah.
it's relaxation and a getaway from me,
Absolutely, I totally agree. So you were a Kindle or a book person?
without a doubt. Kindle, with the
Mm.
amount of travel that I do, The challenge I have is I typically have 3 books at a time
Mm.
going, so that and you can only read so much on a plane, and then you have to shift over to Netflix or something. But definitely Kindle.
Yeah, I think a Kindle. I'm the same. I am the same. Kindle. Well, I like to hold a book, but well, as you said, you can get so many books on a Kindle, and when you travel, it's just you can't put 5 books
Yeah,
in your carry-on.
absolutely.
That just wouldn't work. So name a film that you've watched more than once and why. What made you go back to it?
Uh, I've probably watched it 300 times. Braveheart.
Oh, really? Excellent.
Uh, Nothing. I can almost unite the clans. Unite the clans.
Yeah,
I can. It's
you can recite it.
it's a great story of a true patriot, and just a wonderful
Mm.
story. You always wonder, what is fact or fiction, but it's very enjoyable. Love it.
Yeah, I think a lot is fiction, but some of the battles were yeah were correct. I think so. I have a bucket list, and on that bucket list, I've done some of them actually. I've dived with great white sharks. I've done yeah a few of them. But do you have one? And what's on there?
I wondered about this question. I really don't. Um,
Ah,
I've traveled extensively throughout my career, so that's not on the bucket list. I think if there's one place to travel, for me, uh, I have a master's in theology
mm,
besides other things, and so my bucket list consists of staying in tune with the spirit, staying in tune
yeah,
with the present, which is challenging every single
yeah,
day.
absolutely it
But
is.
that
Yeah.
that kind of stays. I continue to study in that area
Mm.
of both New Age religions and thought and spirituality. So that's kind of an ongoing bucket list for me.
Yeah, so that's the bucket list. You'll succeed one day, but not the next. So it
Yeah.
is yeah. In
Amen.
the present, yeah, okay. So that was brilliant. Thank you, Paul, and thank you. One last question for you. 2019, we're almost, we're a third of the way through, or yeah, a third of the way through. So, but what are your plans for the rest of the year, both Qlik and personal?
Yeah. So for once again, 4 months here,
Hmm.
and that really has been spent with in a mode of observation. What do
Yeah.
I think is working? What isn't? So as I look at 2019, like everybody else, it's about driving the numbers that we need to
Hmm.
drive and doing that in the most efficient way that we can. Key to that is me working with the region. So my biggest objective, besides meeting all of the key partners that we're working with, but also meeting not only Sean Dolan and CJ on an
Yeah.
ongoing
Yeah.
basis, but the regional directors and all the salespeople. Yesterday, I was for a very short time, I was at the New England user group with Peter Jaffe's team, and it was a wonderful session, very
Hmm.
well attended. But that's really my plan. It's tactical, and as we later on in the year, we'll talk about the strategy for 2020. But
Yeah.
for right now, it's about driving the numbers and working with the sales teams to make sure that myself and my team can deliver the value that we need.
And on a personal level?
On a personal level, I got to keep training for that stinking bike
Oh
ride.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
just one thing I remember when I was cycling was just say each wheel turn gets me closer.
yeah,
Each wheel turn gets me
absolutely.
closer.
No, but
And
it's
yeah.
as far as personally being here too, it's been great getting to meet people and on a
Mm,
personal level, getting to those folks a lot better, and once again keeping up with the reading that I need to be keeping up with, and
yeah.
from a business perspective too, understanding we've got a lot more technology to learn. So
Mm.
personally, I like to keep up to snuff with that stuff so I can at least sound a little bit intelligent about it.
Yeah.
So that takes a lot of time also.
Yeah. Well, it's been great getting to know you, Paul, and that's the whole idea of Spotlight is that people can watch these and find out a little bit about who Paul is. I presume you'll be at Connections. We can meet personally then and have a shake of the hand. So I'm looking forward to that. Good luck with your role. It's great to have you on board at Qlik. We're lucky to have you. Take care, Paul, and thanks for getting involved in Spotlight.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and thanks so much for the time spent here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Paul.
All the best.